It was written by A.M. Smiley on June 4th of 2016. So this is a relatively older one. But here we go with 24 ding-dong promotional strategies. You would think that giant companies have a battery of PR people ready to flag anything that has even a faint whiff of dumb bullshit. But naturally, you are not correct. Shame on you. This, of course, would fall in the category of, Nash and Tara's #1 rule that every marketing company needs to have a 13-year-old on it to run everything by. But anyway, here we bring you some of the most questionable decisions that companies which should have known better actually made. Now, I'm going to have to give you a warning ahead of time on this because it is really kind of scary how much. There's at least 3 of these that, let's just say, go reference a certain regime that took place around the 1930s and 40s.
Them.
Which I think starts with our first entry on this list.
Before we say anything, I know we don't often get that type of discussions on these shows, but if it's who I think it is, then yeah.
Well, we'll wait and see. Like, Amazon needed a way to promote its new series. They went with Nazi symbols on the subway! The series was called The Man in the High Castle and worked on the premise that America had lost World War II. So Amazon just thought they'd decorate the New York subway seats with the symbols of Nazi Germany and imperialist Japan. Amazon pulled the signage after Mayor Bill de Blasio called it irresponsible and offensive. Probably the smartest thing Bill de Blasio ever said in his term as mayor of New York City.
I mean, of course they would do that, and unfortunately, some have used the symbolism of that party towards others, but it really.
I mean, first off, let's get this right. I mean, I think if anything is being overused way too much, can we just stop with the metaphorical shows of what if the Nazis had won World War II, or what if the South had won the Civil War? Is anyone really wanting to watch that crap?
I actually went through a history course, and I often thought to myself, no matter what happened, if this was going to happen, it's going to happen. So.
Yeah. So, meanwhile, you know what is bad, and you know what the sad thing is? I think the next entry on this list is going to be very similar vein here. In 2012, Mountain Dew asked the internet to name its new flavor. So they picked Hitler Did Nothing Wrong.
Can I say something really quick?
Absolutely.
Asking the internet to do something smart is like asking a pyromaniac to run a gas station.
Yeah, exactly. And other top-voted suggestions in the Dub the Dew promotion included Fapple, Diabetes, and Gushing Granny, which actually makes sense for green apple soda. Pranksters also hacked a fake banner and a Rickroll into the site. Kinda makes Bodie McBoatface seem tame by comparison, huh?
Kinda makes the boner jokes a lot more tolerable from that whole.
When you can make phallic jokes look adult and mature by comparison, you failed miserably. That's pretty much all we need to say there. Moving on, I think we get a reprieve, though we have one upcoming relatively soon. Let's move on to number 22 on the list. Oh yeah, you know this. You've probably heard about this one, James. In 1984, McDonald's wanted to celebrate the Olympics. So they gave away a crazy amount of free food. Now again, this one wasn't completely McDonald's fault. Maybe. Actually, the more I think about it, maybe it was. Let's sum this up first.
I think it also had to do with Fred Silverman.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Really, McDonald's looked at the medal breakdown from previous Olympics and launched a promo where people would win free food based on the U.S. team's medal count. But the USSR boycotted the 1984 games, allowing the U.S. to take home twice as many medals as usual. As a result, some of the restaurants ran out of Big Macs. Now again, I've said this before, that maybe this wasn't completely McDonald's fault, except, now, keep in mind, I was 5 years old when these Olympics took place. So I don't have, so I definitely do not have a great memory of this. But just theorizing, one would think that knowledge of the Soviet Union's upcoming boycott had to be somewhat common knowledge. McDonald's had to have known the likelihood that was going to happen months in advance, and still went ahead with this. And yes, it had to leave people having to realize that no, that wasn't just some made-up gag in the Simpsons episode Lisa's First Word. That they were actually basing that off of actual history.
Yeah.
But moving on to number 21 on the list. In 2006, Chevy decided to let people make their own commercials. And the internet had a field day. Now, I don't know if you're seeing this image here, James. And I really kind of wanted to do some more research into this, what happened. But we've got two images here. One has the caption, "Don't buy me." And that's probably the tamer one, compared to a second image with the caption, "Murder your entire family." Anyway, now this probably shouldn't be surprising, because apparently in the further description here, GM decided to pair with The Apprentice to create a website where people could add their own text to footage of the Chevy Tahoe. The resulting ads, which ranged from critical to outright psychotic, remained on the web for several days before Chevy noticed. Again, it kind of makes me wish I had more examples to show you, but maybe we're better off not having those examples.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got a bad gut feeling that Murder Your Own Family still might be one of the tamer ones. But now, brace yourself, because I got a feeling the 20th entry might be one more of those. Let's go and see here. Yep! In December, Hallmark prints blue wrapping paper for Hanukkah. And sometimes it has swastikas on it!
Oh, no.
The wrapping paper was discovered by a Jewish grandmother who was looking specifically for paper in blue and silver, the traditional colors of Hanukkah. Hanukkah says the pattern is based on a Chinese vase, not a racist symbol. They recalled it anyway.
Smart move.
Yeah, you can actually see, they do put images of, they do have images of the wrapping paper here, and I can say, I definitely can see what more than likely was not intentional. But, yeah, it just kind of ends up in a way that, can be a bit disturbing, to say the least. We'll just kind of leave it at that. The good news is, I think those are the only three on this list.
I hope
that
so.
Have no references to Nazism or anti-Semitism of any kind. That's not to say some of these others are that much better. Moving on to number 19. Oh yeah, oh god, oh no.
What?
In 2002, Starbucks wanted to sell smoothies. So they reminded people of 9/11.
Oh God!
You saw these?
I still remember where I was when that happened, and I still am never over it.
Yeah. Anyway, the ad, which appeared less than a year after the Twin Towers attack, featured a dragonfly about to crash into the two towering slushies in a field of blocky grass. The tagline? Collapse into cool.
Oh God, what the hell is wrong with humanity?
Okay, seriously, I'll just say, whoever came up with this idea, and that tagline in particular, how were they not beaten over the head with a rolled up periodical of some type? Like, that should not need a 13-year-old to get by. And again, like Nash and Tara have said, stuff like this, they go through so many levels of approval to get up to make it into publication of any type. And nobody took a look at this and said, this really isn't a very good idea.
Unfortunately, the almighty dollar is powerful than intelligence. What can I tell you?
Meanwhile, moving on to number 18, Walmart. Now this one actually might be, this one's more tame by comparison. Walmart really wants people to like them. So they paid a couple to blog about how cool Walmart is.
Can I say something really quickly?
Sure thing, of course.
If Walmart wants to be cool or be with us again, they should support the Blue Line. And if you are aware of what the Blue Line is, anyone out there, if this gets on YouTube, then you know what I'm talking about.
Anyway, what we're talking about here right now is the blog was called Walmarting Across America and featured down-to-earth couple Laura and Jim, who were traveling across the country by RV and staying in Walmart parking lots along the way. That is a thing truckers do, by the way. Just to point out,
Yeah,
I've seen truckers and RVs parked in those places all the time.
And believe it or not, my aunt and uncle, they used to do a lot of RV stuff, and so they had to do the Walmart and the...
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and by golly, every Walmart employee they met was happy and loved the company.
And survey says they were all actors.
Yep, man, let's find out. It turned out that their trip was funded by Walmart. Walmart was paying them a freelance fee, and that the pair were professional writers. No evidence right now that they post here as whether or not the employees were actors, but I would not be surprised. Anyway, moving on, number 17 on this list. Oh boy. Woolworths.
What?
Yeah, Woolworths once launched a line of loft beds for girls. And they named it Lolita!
Ay, 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 ay.
As most people know, Lolita is a famous novel about a man having sex with his own 12-year-old stepdaughter. The story has been made into at least 2 films. Spokespeople for Woolworths claimed they had never heard of the book, but they pulled the beds anyway.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That they had never, next thing you'll probably tell me they never heard of Fannie Mae either. Or anything like that. But again, so many levels of Woolworths marketing department, and no one had ever that name sparks something in someone's mind for them to go, wait a minute, I know I've heard that thing somewhere before. I mean,
just so you know, it's stuff like this that makes me want to actually do that whole Al Bundy, don't you want your last minute advice, ah ha 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 ha, laughing as he jumps out to face the Grim Reaper without a parachute.
In the meantime, let us move on to number 16. Oh boy, this was at least more funny. Walker's Crisps. And of course, if you don't know where, crisps is what they call potato chips over across the pond in merry old England. Walker's Crisps needed a fun promotional contest. So they asked buyers to predict the weather in Great Britain in autumn. I am just going to assume, as an ugly American who has never sailed across either of the oceans, that I'm guessing, like here in Texas, right now it's begun that time of month, that time of the year where up until maybe the end of September, you could pretty much guess the weather is going to be two things: dry and hot. That's pretty much it until the Halloween season starts, for the most part. So I'm just going to guess that the weather doesn't get very unpredictable in Great Britain in the fall. Because
it doesn't.
Because, as they say here, in the end, for every 3 pounds, that's of course the currency in England, for every 3 pounds worth of chips Walker sold, they paid out 10 pounds in prize money. So,
okay.
Yeah. So, things didn't work out as well as they probably would have liked. I don't know if this was as bad as the McDonald's Olympic promotion, but it's still pretty funny.
Yeah, it is still pretty funny.
So at least that one we can laugh at somewhat. Can we laugh at number 15? Well, maybe not. For 10 years, Toyota produced the Toyota Matrix, and they went full creep to sell it. Toyota decided to promote the Matrix with an alternate reality game called The Other You. Participants would sign up their friends to be targeted by the campaign. One Los Angeles woman received threatening emails, a link to a fake MySpace page, and a fake bill in her name for trashed hotel rooms. Not surprisingly, she sued Toyota.
I think it was right of her to sue them because...
I mean, I don't know if she could sue the people whoever... I mean, I'll just say, whoever put her on that list, I wouldn't call those people friends. In fact...
Nor would I.
I mean, I just anybody who would sign you up to something like this without notifying you and getting consent, I would not exactly call a friend.
No, I'd call that criminals.
Meanwhile, number 14... Oh, good God, this one.
What?
In 2012, Nike was proud of America's female Olympians. So they called them gold diggers.
Oh, what?
Nike decided to commemorate the pile of gold medals accumulated by the women on the U.S. team by selling the shirts, calling them gold diggers. Well-known slang for women who have sex with rich men for their money. Nike tried to pass the stunt off by saying they were just being ironic.
Ironic my ass.
Aha. And yes, there's actually a picture here of some woman with the head cropped off, just for that much, wearing a shirt with a Nike swoosh and the words, gold digging. Now, admittedly, that could be interpreted a different way. You
know what face I'm doing right now?
Probably
it
not.
Is Tony Stark in Endgame when he just heard Mantis speak her line. You know which line, right?
Yeah. But
I can't actually heard that one.
Now again, you might have, in a better world, you might have just mistaken this for maybe comparing them to the 49er prospects of the 19th century, but yeah, when it's about women, it kind of doesn't go that way. And sadly, I'm pretty sure if I could dig up something that might not be the worst thing Nike's ever done as far as its ad campaigns go. But actually, there's another athletic ad campaign on this list that is even worse, and let's see if we get into that. Number 13, no, but this one is actually pretty dumb anyway. In 2005, Snapple launched a line of popsicles, and they created the world's largest melted ice pop. I think I may have seen this in another Cracked article, in fact. It was the first day of summer in New York City, and Snapple wanted to set a world record for the world's largest popsicle. But when they opened the doors to the delivery truck, a shining-sized gush of melted red popsicle flooded the street.
Oh.
Yeah.
So the streets of New York City ran red with red Snapple.
That's about as good a way to present it as anything. I think we're about halfway through now as we move on to number 12. Okay, Silo was an appliance chain with a surplus of stereos. So they sold them off for bananas. The store ran an ad campaign in 1986 announcing that they'd sell stereo systems for the low price of 299 bananas, which is apparently slang for $299. Smart-ass customers showed up with 299 actual bananas, and the store was forced to honor the ad. They immediately pulled it, but not before losing 10 grand.
Can I say something?
Sure.
Bananas is slang for cash? No.
I haven't heard it.
Loot.
I mean, lettuce, maybe? I don't know. There's a lot of slang people in terms of coming up for cash dollars. But yeah, bananas is one I've not exactly heard of. So I think someone got played on that ad campaign. Moving on to number 11. Oh boy, oh yeah, this one. In the early 2000s, Red Lobster offered all-you-can-eat crab legs. And they learned how much America can eat. The promotion took place in 2003, a time when snow crab leg prices were at an all-time high, and people enjoying the all-you-can-eat menu would stay for hours as the restaurants turned away other customers. All told, Red Lobster lost $3 million.
Wow.
And I'll just say this. This is why KFC should never try to do an all-you-can-eat buffet like this, because I'll eat them out of business.
Just for the record, I can't have KFC anymore, so...
Well, for you, I guess it would be Popeyes.
Nope.
Oh.
Can't eat Popeyes anymore. I've had some issues that I've got to get through, and, well...
Understandable. Well, that's subject for another time. In the meantime, we are moving on to the top 10 here, and...
Well, we hit the top 10? Oh, boy.
Yeah. After a crash, Pacific Airlines wanted to reassure customers, so they hired a comedian to mock people's fears. It was 1967, and comedian Stan Freberg figured the best way to help people stop worrying about plane crashes was to poke fun at the dangers of air travel. It took out a newspaper ad saying that pilots were just as afraid to fly. He also had air hosts hand out gag survival kits and conclude every flight by getting on the intercom and saying, "We made it! How about that?" And that's why I prefer taking the train.
I've actually flown for the first time in my life this year.
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you something. If they did that on my first flight, I would definitely not be there anymore. I definitely would be taking trains for the rest of my life.
That's why, among the multiple reasons why I sucked it up and drove myself all the way to California for Rosen and Casey's wedding. That's about all you need to know. There.
One other thing.
Yeah.
If Rosen and Casey hear this, congratulations, l'chaim, mazel tov, the usual.
Of course. Moving on to number 9 here. We mentioned KFC a bit earlier. Well, in 2009, KFC partnered with Oprah to sell chicken. So she gave all her viewers free KFC.
You get KFC, and you get KFC,
get
and
it?
you get KFC.
Get that out of your system. Yeah, of course. Oprah decided the best way to promote KFC was to offer people a downloadable coupon for free chicken. So 16 million people printed it out and showed up for their free food. Unsurprisingly, the chain ran out of chicken before lunch. The ensuing backlash was dubbed the Oprah KFC Coupon Riot, which would only be topped by the McDonald's Szechuan Sauce Riot years later.
I get why people liked the Szechuan sauce. Partly because of Mulan and all that other stuff.
And just, apparently anything Rick Sanchez tells them to do, they'll do it. Which is probably a good reason why I'm glad I don't really watch that show. But, moving on to number 8 here. Here we go. Here's the one I was talking about. In 1999, Just for Feet scored a Super Bowl ad. So they went with all of the racism. The ad features a team of white hunters in a Hummer chasing a barefoot Kenyan runner. The team drugs the runner like a wild animal. Then we see the runner wake up to find that he's wearing shoes. The company wound up suing its ad agency and went out of business within a year. Now, you want to know even probably the worst thing about this is you are probably aware I never watched the Super Bowl. Not a football fan and never done it. And yet, I am certain I saw this ad at one point, which means at least at some point in time, it got re-aired after the Super Bowl somewhere that I saw.
Just for the record, I used to enjoy the Super Bowl for leisure, but never for the ads. Do you know what I would rather watch right now than the Super Bowl? A 24-hour DCEU movie marathon.
And that, man, even Ezra Miller's Flash.
Yes.
That's bad. Okay.
Yeah.
As we move on to number 7 here. Oh boy, this one hits home for me, people, because, and James, maybe you've heard about this little escapade as well. In 1974, the Cleveland Indians wanted to fill their stands. So they held 10-cent beer night.
What?
Oh, have you heard of this one?
Oh, I've heard of that.
That was the whole plan. No limits, just 10 cents a beer all night. Predictably, the 25,134 attendees got insanely drunk. Their shenanigans included running naked onto the field, pelting the visiting Texas Rangers with everything from batteries to wine jugs, and attempting to steal the hat from Texas Rangers pitcher. Okay, now I have to take umbrage a bit with the writer here on this one, because it says, attempting to steal the hat from Texas Rangers pitcher Jeff Burroughs. Jeff Burroughs was not a pitcher. He was an outfielder. Won 1974 American League MVP that very year. So do some more damn research, cracked writers, on that. Anyway, the debacle culminated in one of the most violent riots in the history of baseball. And yes, as you may be aware, and I'll say it, it ended up in the game being forfeited to the Rangers, there would not be another forfeit in Major League Baseball until, I think, 1979, with another promotional kerfluffle that I'm kind of surprised didn't get on here. Maybe they went with only going with one baseball-related one. So amazingly, what got left off of this list was Disco Demolition Night with the Chicago White Sox.
Oh, I remember the tales of the Disco Demolition.
Yeah, that one apparently just got spared from being on this list. Moving on to number 6. In 2014, Jägermeister decided to throw a pool party, and 9 people wound up in the hospital. No, they didn't do too many Jaeger bombs. Jägermeister decided it would be super cool to put liquid nitrogen in the pool to make it smoky. Yes?
You know that liquid nitrogen can freeze water like that.
Well, apparently it was a little bit worse than this, because the nitrogen combined with the chlorine in the pool to form nitrogen trichloride, a toxic gas that put one person into a coma and sent 8 others to the emergency room. So congratulations, Jägermeister! You had people swimming in a chemical weapon!
Oh, no.
Yeah. You might as well have put ammonia in there as well. Why didn't you? But we are moving on, and believe me, even after that, we still have the top 5 to go.
Oh, boy.
Number 5. The British division of Hoover had a surplus of vacuums, so they offered buyers plane tickets. In the 90s, British Hoover offered 2 plane tickets to the U.S. or anywhere in Europe to anyone spending more than 100 pounds on a vacuum cleaner. It didn't take people long to realize what an amazing deal that was, and the ensuing vacuum buying frenzy cost the company 50 million pounds.
That's a lot of bucks.
And that's not even in the top 5, maybe one of the worst airline promotions ever, as we'll probably soon see. As we move on to number 4, oh boy, yeah, this one. In 1992, Fiat wanted to sell cars to women in Spain, so they sent them creepy mail. Fiat sent out 50,000 anonymous letters to women with phrases like, "We met again on the street yesterday, and I noticed how you glanced interestedly in my direction," and asked the recipient to join the sender for a little adventure. Women were so freaked out that they refused to leave their homes, and the letters sparked fights between couples.
The Jackie Chan, what look of that's on my face right now, like.
I mean, yeah, I'm not, the urban legend of Chevrolet not being able to sell the Chevy Nova in Latin American countries, that would be bad enough. This one decided to supersize it times 10 billion. Moving on to the top 3 here. Oh, believe it or not, apparently there is one thing Coca-Cola did that was dumber than New Coke, apparently. In 1990, Coca-Cola introduced the Magic-Can. It was filled with noxious water. The Magic Cans were rigged with a pop-up mechanism that would dispense a coupon or some cash to lucky fans. They also contained water to make them feel like ordinary sodas that was treated with chlorine and ammonium sulfate.
Ay, ay, ay.
When a kid drank the nasty water, his parents contacted the authorities. Coke hastily canceled the promotion.
Let me just say the following. If you... Do these people have a Darwin fetish to be like, we want to bring people in by killing them?
Apparently nobody at Coca-Cola ever took a chemistry class, apparently.
No kidding.
Yes, we'll see.
I mean, I had to take a chemistry class for college. And even I know not to mix that type of stuff. Even my science teacher told me not to mix that stuff.
Moving on to the runner-up on this list, Dr. Pepper decided to bet on Axl Rose's laziness, and they lost. It seemed like a safe bet. In 1994, Guns N' Roses promised to release a new album. In 2008, Dr. Pepper announced that they'd give every American citizen a can of soda if GNR released it that year. 8 months...
I remember that promotion. I remember that. And you know what? As a Guns N' Roses fan, knowing that I was going to one day hear that Chinese democracy stuff, I mean, it was like, yeah. And the Great Wall of China is going to be rebuilt. I knew that because it was not going to happen, but when it happened, it happened.
As it says here, 8 months later, the band released Chinese Democracy. Dr. Pepper was caught completely unprepared and launched a website that immediately crashed. Ironically, Axl Rose then sued them for being a bunch of liars.
Let me just say the following about Axl Rose in the past couple of years. He has become a little bit more professional, but still, all those years having to wait kind of made me lose faith in Axl and his abilities.
Or rather that he would agree to be lazy just to be petty. But
maybe.
Our number one entry on this list, the good news is it's nothing really offensive or cringe-inducing, and you might have actually heard of this one. In fact, I actually know someone, a retired DFW sports writer by the name of Randy Galloway, who I believe he purchased one of these things. American Airlines decided to sell lifetime first-class tickets, so people went on a flying frenzy. The tickets cost $250,000, which seems like a lot, until you remember how much first-class plane tickets cost. One guy flew to London 16 times in a single month. And another has flown over 30 million miles on his lifetime pass. That's enough to circle the globe more than 1,000 times.
Wow.
You know what? I'm just going to say this. I'm going to bet that's probably again why American Airlines charges so damn much now for baggage, in order to try and make up all those costs. Because, you know what? Anybody who was willing to invest $250,000 for the chance to fly anywhere, anytime for the rest of your life, you know what? Props to you for that. You know, I know we're just having to endure, a certain 4 individuals who made a very dumb decision to go look up the wreckage of the Titanic in someone's homemade sub. Well, I'm not counting the 5th one, because he was more or less pressured into going there. That was not his choice. And that's the most tragic thing of all. But yeah, we all know about that story there. This thing, lot more better way to spend your money if you're a rich person. But obviously I'm going to assume that American Airlines is not offering this special anymore.
I am willing to bet my vacation to Texas on that one.